All right, this is the beginning of a new series, if you will, where I am going to interview locals. And by locals, I mean people that have been down here for a number of years. They're diehard Lakers. In this particular case, we've got some real estate agents with me as well. This is Kelly Bennett and Bryan Rankins. Kelly, you've been down here for 25 years.
Yes,
and Bryan, you've been tagging along for, I don't know, maybe 10?
15.
15.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us your story. Like, what made you come down here to Lake of the Ozarks?
Well, about 25 years ago, it started off with purchasing our first condo. It was a little one-bedroom condo. It's our first time young and getting into the lake and our first little boat and everything. And from there, we upgraded, sold the one-bedroom, bought a two-bedroom condo, and still enjoyed it, loved it, just kind of kept doing a little bit larger. And then we finally parlayed that into coming down to the Clearwater, which is down in Camdenton area, a little quieter water. Built new construction about 19 years ago and have stayed down ever since. So for over about 25 years consecutively, I've been a Laker.
I love it. And we are sitting right here on their deck at Clearwater Condos, which is in Camdenton. We're about the 8.5-mile marker of the Big Niangua. So, Bryan, what's your story? What you started coming down as a result of Kelly, or?
Well, I started coming down because of the fact that I play music down here at the lake. So, being a musician, we've played down here consistently for 15 years. Dave Bennett and I, we have our little band, so we still play almost every weekend all during the summer. We do all the conventions and things like that during the winter here too. So, but got into real estate 10 years ago, and of course, because of hanging around with her, it was like, well, what better way to do it than hang your coattails on, or grab onto the coattails of an incredible agent and learn that way. And it has been phenomenal.
I love it. We're going to talk a little bit about real estate, but first, I want to ask you guys some questions about the Lake of the Ozarks, because those of you that follow this channel, you know that I talk about, it's lifestyle, it's the things to do. But there's also, there's a fair amount of haters on the Lake of the Ozarks. In fact, I just created a video this morning talking to one of said haters who said something to the effect of, you have to replace your swimsuit every time you jump into the Lake of the Ozarks. Yeah. So we all know that's a joke. I don't know why they even say such things, but you're obviously a lifetimer and you probably will be here for the rest of your life. And so first of all, let me also state they live in St. Louis. So they're St. Louisans. There's a lot of St. Louisans, a lot of Kansas Cityans, a lot of Midwesterners. When we're talking to the audience who doesn't know anything about the Lake of the Ozarks, but they always hear the hatred towards it, what would you say to that?
Well, I think that I can understand where some people are coming from. It's all about perception. Even if you just watch the TV series Ozarks, there's a perception of our neighborhood and our area down here at the lake. But there's so many variables and so many options for families to have fun. Yes, you can go up to the other end of the lake, Osage Beach, where there's big water, big boats, a lot of fabulous restaurants and places for entertainment. You can also go down to quieter ends of the lake. Down here at Camdenton is just one example of the quiet end of the lake. A lot of families prefer this quieter end. You can get by on your pontoons. You can take the kids out, tubing, water skiing. So there's a lot of variables. The fun is all about what you really want, because it's all over down here at the lake. Do you want the quieter, relaxing lifestyle? Do you want fishing? Maybe that's really important to you. Or be up in the hot action. So there's just a misconception that the lake is just one type of party craziness. That is not true whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. What would you say, Bryan, to somebody who says the lake is a cesspool? I get that one a lot.
Say, come down here and give me 3 days, and I will take you around and I will show you the beauty of this lake. And I know that, the people who are on certain lakes, Table Rock, Bull Shoals, that kind of thing, where all it is green. And if that's your thing, Truman Lake is not that far from here. And it's that. Yeah. But if you want, number one, this massive sense of community, and if you don't live here, you really don't understand that part of it. But this is probably one of the most caring, giving areas that there are in our entire state. And we can back that up with facts too, because if you look at all the money that all these events raise down here for the different charities, it's unbelievable. These guys come down here with their $1 million race boats and they make no money.
Yeah.
They spend money and donate all these proceeds so that these kids can have a better life. Name me another community, a lake community, that can tout that kind of thing. But we also have just some of the most incredible, restaurants that we go to, the most incredible musicians down here at the lake. Not saying I'm one of them. I'm just saying
Shameless
that we
plug.
do. But it is so much fun. But the big thing is, and we talk about this all the time, we drive in, and as soon as we see the lake, blood pressure lowers just a little bit. We open the door and we walk out and we see this beautiful view. And all of a sudden it's just like, wow, all the same problems are still there, but they're not near as stressful as they once were. So that's why I say, you give me 3 days down here and I'll show you why this lake is the best there.
I think somebody should take him up on that.
Yeah.
What I also find to be really exciting is that, I have a daughter who's grown up here at the lake. And so she has gotten to meet and get to be friends with people from Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, not just Missouri. Yeah. So it's such a great opportunity to really get to know people from other areas that all come together down here at the Lake of the Ozarks area and bond friendships.
Yeah. So we were talking yesterday about, and you mentioned this, all the restaurants. What would you guess that how many restaurants there are that are lakefront?
Minimum 30, probably more than that. But I will tell you, that's the cool part about it. And it's not just Mexican. It's everything you can imagine.
There's no other lake like it. I don't know that there's another lake in the world that has as much going on the lake as this one.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So, okay, I want you 2 different answers. What is your favorite lakefront restaurant, Kelly?
Oh, wow. Right now, I'm really enjoying a new place that opened up down here last year or so, The Cave. It's a big draw. It's got the kids, the pool, the beach, the indoor cave area, which everybody likes. So for food-wise, I think that Shorty Pants is another great restaurant that has more of a Cajun flair.
Mm-hmm.
Get there by boat, and they always have some great live music. Another place, I know you said 2, but the Hatch. The Hatch is really good food, especially for morning breakfast.
Miller's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
That's Bryan.
Yeah, so some of our answers will be similar. So the Cave, I think, is neat, but at the same time, it's just the offshoot of Redheads, and it's closer to us. Yep. And I've always loved Redheads. Their food is great. Service is great. Love their docks. So that's a great one. But for me, I'm probably torn between the Hatch, which has, oh my God, some of the most amazing food. Yep. And you can get gas right there. So have them fill up your boat while you're eating. So it's perfect.
And dog friendly.
Yeah, and very dog friendly. And the second place is Fishing Company. Fishing Company has been a staple down here for years. They always have live music. The food is always consistently good. And they have some of the best servers on the lake.
Yeah. So. Well, and I will say we're also a little biased based on where we are because, for me, I tell people if you want the views, you go to Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
If you want debauchery, you go to Shady Gators. If you want, if you're way up by the dam, you're probably going to Coconuts, which is on the gravel arm. So it's a little bit different based on where you are. This lake is so massive.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question. We'll stay in the same vein. What would be your #1 favorite restaurant off the water?
Jeffrey's.
Oh, that was quick.
I can say I have 5 favorites.
Okay, let's hear them.
For different reasons.
Right.
#1, Michael's Steak Chalet. Incredible prime rib, great fillets, just great food in general. But the view is spectacular. I mean spectacular. Because you have literally this big, huge, almost 160-degree view of the channel. And you're up on this mountain, so sunsets there are gorgeous. So that's probably my favorite for that reason. Jeffrey's, second to none when it comes to just great people and great food. They're wonderful. But we also venture down and go to JB Hooks and Baxter's all the time too, because they are consistently good too.
Yeah.
But I would say, so my 5th one is Margaritaville, oddly enough, because the Land Shark restaurant at Margaritaville, and I'll tell you, I could tell you a long story about how good they are, but they are incredible. The GM Fred is amazing. Taylor, who runs the Tiki Bar and all the convention stuff, they have we play there, so we know, and we see these staffs. When you consistently see the same staff year after year after year, that means management is doing something right. And their food is consistently incredible.
What is the name of your band? So if anybody ever wants to go find you, they can find you.
We are we go by several different things. Sometimes we're the Bennett Rankins band. Sometimes we're the Dave Bennett band.
Let's talk real estate. So, you know, the lake market has exploded over the last couple of years. And again, we were talking about this yesterday. Those that are keeping an eye on this market, waiting for prices to drop, we all agree that that's not happening. Not in the foreseeable future. If anything, they're going to continue to rise. And so what is, you know, give us some data on the real estate market.
Well, what we've seen is that, you know, this lake has consistently had an increase in property values and an increase in sales. It used to be there was a lot of little, what we call the grandma, grandpa, little cabins along the water and everything. And then years ago, the big multi-million-dollar homes started being built. And one was just bigger than the next, especially when you get up to the Osage Beach, Horseshoe Bend, that area. So we definitely have seen a great increase in the size, the dollar amount, and the values of the homes. We've also just noticed when COVID hit, it was unbelievable. When the world was shutting down and you could not fly, you could not go places like families wanted to, the sales went through the roof at Lake of the Ozarks because people realized, again, coming from Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, any of these surrounding states, they were buying properties down here for their families. And so many people could work from home. So if all of a sudden the husband could work from home, buying a lakefront property and letting the kids stay there and the wife and everything, we saw a big increase in sales, and it just kept going. Then the world changed and everything loosened up with COVID. All of a sudden, we combined that with the fact that there were some major hurricanes that hit down in Florida. And the aftermath of those hurricanes, we noticed that a lot of people who owned investment properties, whether it's Airbnbs or things like that, their insurance, their homeowner's insurance was going through the roof. The hurricane, the wind insurance, these expenses on the cost to carry for investment properties down in the Florida area also made a big shift to the lake because people that own those properties, they went, you know what, I'm going to do a 1031 tax exchange. I'm out of the Florida market. Buy me X dollar amount worth of value of properties at Lake of the Ozarks, and I eliminate all those hefty fees and still be able to have the investment portfolio.
So if someone wants to own down here, what is an expectation? If they a condo versus a home, different areas of the lake, what would be that expectation that you would set for them?
Well, again, it goes back to what area do they want to be in. If they're looking at something for an investment, Airbnb, and they don't even really ever want to use it, they just want to have something to be in the hot neighborhoods, they might be more open to the bigger part of the lake, the Osage Beach area. And then again, they might say, no, I want a little bit closer, quieter water. Expectations-wise, they might find a little bit more value, a little more bang for their buck in the Camdenton area or the surrounding quieter water. To get into, say, for an example, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, fully furnished condo with a boat dock, because you want to have a dock no matter what. You could probably be looking in the average of a $300,000 range property, starting out as that. Now, keep in mind, your taxes are so much lower down here. So that's a big factor when you're looking at those properties. You know, you can go all the way up to getting $500,000 and $600,000 condos up at the other end of the lake. Yeah. So there is a widespread. It's more about what is your comfort range in your payments and your prices. And we have every price point down here, from about $200,000 starting for waterfront property, going up to several $1 million.
You know, and you brought up a good point too, based on where you want to live, based on maybe boat size. Yeah. And so let's wrap that topic into this and use it as our ending point, which is, you know, again, a misconception is it's all big boats, it's all fast boats, and that's far from the truth. And especially if you come down here, like the average boat size is probably 25 to 30 foot. Mm-hmm. But what would you say to somebody who has that misconception about it's all go fast boats, it's all yachts?
Right. Well, when we first start working with a buyer, we kind of have that conversation with them up front. Some of them, if there's their first time buying at Lake of the Ozarks, or maybe they owned something 20 years ago and now they're ready to get back into it. The first discussion we have with them is, what is your desires, your lifestyle? What is it you're looking for? And what kind of boat do you picture yourself having? Because if they say, you know, we're looking for a small little fishing boat, my husband only wants to go crappie fishing, things like that, we talk about that lifestyle and what areas are going to suit that. But if they're like, no, we want the big open bow, cruiser or any of those big boats, then we send them find a direction for them from that point of view.
So what would be your parting thoughts for anyone watching this either somebody who's already a lake lover, somebody who's a lake hater, somebody who's considering coming here, maybe for a vacation, maybe to own, what would you tell them?
Prices are not dropping. I know the news says everywhere the doom and gloom. Yes, in certain areas in the United States, we are seeing some changes, but I can tell you based on the statistics that we're seeing in our MLS, things are not slowing down in either purchases or price ranges. Bryan, what are your thoughts?
And my thing is for somebody maybe coming to the lake for the first time, and especially if you're someone who hates Lake of the Ozarks, let me tell you, I can't begin. This would be an hour and a half long if I told you all the incredible things about the lake and just what you can experience here. Just like anything else, you can always find the bad stuff if you want to look hard enough, but the good stuff is all over the place here. So I couldn't imagine going anywhere else, and we love it here year round. I mean, the restaurants don't all close, which is a misconception too, is, oh, well, the winter's dead. We were last November, Thanksgiving time, we had gone to the strip where there's a lot of restaurants and stuff. And normally in past years, you go up there in the winter to go to Casablanca and get a really good pizza, and you have parking all over the place. We couldn't find a parking place. That's what the lake has become, is it's become more of a year-round destination for people.
We're definitely seeing a lot of the restaurants that are either getting a facelift or new places being built. They really are starting to cater to more of a longer season down here at the lake. We're no longer just a 3-month out of the year destination. We've got Old Kinderhook just down the road. They turned their volleyball court into a ice skating rink in the winter time. And I think you're seeing a lot of the restaurants also put outdoor fire pit areas and fireplaces. They're really trying to extend that season because the demand is there for it.
It's true. So if you're watching this and it's still the summer of 23, it's not too late. The lake season really does extend into September and October. And we would all argue that the off season is actually a great time to be here. It is quieter. It's much quieter, which is also the appeal. Because it's so calm, it's so peaceful. It's the same feeling. It doesn't matter if I come here in January, I come here in July. I get that same feeling when I walk through the doors, when I drive over the lake.
The bridge,
And you start seeing the eagles.
Exactly. Eagle days.
Yesterday. We saw them yesterday flying right here.
Yep. I love it. Well, Kelly, Bryan, this has been fantastic. We appreciate your insight. And if they want to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Just reach out to either myself or Bryan. I kind of tend to lean more towards taking care of all of our listings. Bryan he wears all the hats, and he's the buyer specialist. But you can reach out to us by cell phone, text message, or any way that you're comfortable with.
Awesome. We'll have them on the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.